All right, here we go. Donovan Dreyer here. Thank you for tuning in to Three Big Barriers Single Moms Face that keep them stressed out, disconnected from their teen, and feeling completely unsupported. All right, so I'm Donovan Dreyer, and you are awesome. Thank you, you dedicated, caring parent pioneers, curious fellow puzzle solver. We're trying to solve this mystery of the teenager here. And that's what I appreciate you tuning in for, is to help learn how to do things differently. It's such a tough thing. I've been working with teenagers for 16 years, getting them through high school successfully and helping parents through times when they were throwing their hands up in the air in 2001. And I kind of secretly was myself, honestly. But now we're here, our 2016. If we're looking at, let's say, 3 kids per family, I've had like over 300 every year. So if you looked at the equivalent of like 100 families worth of kids for all these years, I've got like 1,600 years worth of teen experience. I mean, I really got an intense, compressed batch of information. And thank you for showing up so I could share all that with you, because I know it's tough and it's a challenge, and you're here because you really care, you're concerned, and you really want to do the best you can do for your teenager. So thank you for tuning in. And these are my peeps. Like I said, I've been doing high school counseling for 16 years. I've been doing the teen team for 4 years. So I've been coaching and doing the life coaching. I've got 3 daughters of my own. I've got my own first ever teenager recently. And been married to Jennifer for 21 years. All right, so what else? I've learned so much in all these years, so much. I mean, it's just, the teenage years are very, they're exciting. I know a lot of people can just look at teenagers and just say, how can you do that? How on earth could you, do 1 extra year of high school, let alone 16 extra years of high school? And for me, it's just like, this is such an incredible time. This is such an incredibly powerful time for kids. And so that's why I do what I do. I consider myself to be a social innovator. And what I've recently created is called Solving Our Stress. I've also got another system for helping teenagers figure out who they are and where they fit in the world. And then, this is really a good thing for everybody. I think there's like 3 callings, really. So PAID is about helping people find their true calling. And if you're a parent, I think one of your other true callings in life, beside what you were, kind of born and wired to do here in this world, is to be a parent. To be the best parent you can be is really your true calling. And then what we have on our plate right now in life, whatever's in front of us, is our true calling. Like, this is the truth. We might wish we have this or that or whatever else, but the bottom line is we have something before us right here in this miracle called life, in our relationships, interactions, the careers that we have something before us that we can make into our true calling. All right, so heart smart habits, goals, and dreams. We have SMART goals in life, but I really think we need to combine the heart in with this, so you're really integrated. You've got a heart, mind, and soul into what you're doing. So that's what Heart Smart is all about. And a little preview of me as social innovator. I really think like we've done so many different things out there with technology and movies and music and so many other areas of life where we're just rocking it with innovations and inventions and changes. And then it comes down to the people in our world, and we're just like doing the same things all the time. It's hard to believe that after all these years, we have some of the same problems repeating year after year after year. All right, so what is SOS? So solving our stress is something that I've created, and we're going to learn a little bit about that as we go. But at Frederick, we're the warriors. So along with everybody else in our community, at one point, I was a wounded warrior. So I was on the mat because we had 3 boys in a 2-week span take their lives. It was intense and really a tough time. And I was there as the helper in that situation, but I was also victimized as well in the community. So it really felt like, after helping, doing whatever I could to help our community, there was a time when I was just like, I need to find a way to get myself up off the mat and and receive my own counseling to process everything that I'd gone through as well. And then finally, I created this tool that allows us to answer my question. So my question was, why did this happen? What can we do? Or what do I need to do so that this doesn't happen in vain and that future kids don't go through this same thing? And the message came through loud and clear. You've got to see what teenagers are hiding. So the empty chair represents me being floored. And then the idea is we got to go from stress to finding relief to stress and ease in life. All right, so welcome if you're just joining now. And we've just kind of quickly covered SOS. And here we are. It's called Solving Our Stress. So this is going to be really involved with two of the big barriers that we've got here. And solving our stress, we're going to kick this off with barrier number 3, is you're unable to see invisible forces. And you're like, of course, how can anybody see invisible forces? Well, as I just mentioned, like these 3 boys, two boys in my life who ended up taking their lives were a complete surprise. Like nothing was wrong. They were really powerful leaders in the society and in our communities. And it was just a total shock. And as I said, the message came through loud and clear that you've got to be able to see these invisible things that boys hide. So that was my charge, is to see invisible forces. And my daughter came up with this little visual of the 3 different colors. So SOS is based on 3 different colors: green, yellow, and red. The universal colors that we use for traffic in the outer world are the exact same colors that I've devised for us to deal with the inner world travels, like the things that we go through inside. All right, so what solving our stress is it's a visual. So it creates this visual look at mindfulness, or what the mental health or the mental and emotional well-being is. It turns it into a chart that you can literally see. All right, so that we can quickly see and then act on every type of stress that exists. And why this is important is we need to be able to see inside and comprehend so we know what to do to fix the situation, to repair the harm, or to resolve the issue at hand. And how do we do this? It's a see and act process. We create a pattern, and it's over time, and then we use this visual to figure out, well, what do we do under the circumstance? If our teenage boy is sending off messages, that he's in one level or another level, you're going to know exactly what to do when we get through this here. All right, so if you don't do it, then you're stuck in the stress mess. You're stressed out, and you're just at a loss as to what to do, and this confusion really doesn't allow us to solve our problems. It makes them worse. All right, so this is the basic chart. So you can see this looks just like a traffic light, basically. We've got healthy stress, and I didn't just call it challenge or something lighter and fluffier, because I really feel like people in life are not going to want to keep their stress all the way down at the bottom and do nothing. We want to put in some healthy stress into our lives. And so this down here is the green zone. This is what we talk about in sports when we're in the zone. So in the game of life now, for me, it's the green zone. So we want to be in the green zone for the game of life. All right, next we go on to the yellow zone. So the yellow zone is the next level up, and red zone. So just like traffic lights. So the green is good to go, and the yellow is starting to be in that caution level. And then when you're in crisis, that's red zone. So all brutal, bad, harmful things out there in the world happen. Everything violent happens from out of the red zone when the mind just is not at full capacity anymore. Green zone, we're really in the zone. Yellow zone, it starts to close in. And then finally red zone, you get kind of this one-track mind. And I think it can go haywire in any kind of possible way. So our first charge then is to be able to see stress. So that's the first barrier. And now we're going to go from unable to see it to able to see it. All right, so at this healthy stress level, we got a little car gauge on here, and she's feeling great. And then as that car gauge goes up and starts to get a little bit more heated, she's got her emoji reactions to match. So as we go up that scale, you can see we don't want a red line in life. Our car gauge goes up and then it comes back down if something briefly happens that's rough in life. But you don't want to ride in this upper red level. So we've got on the left hand side, this is where you're feeling overwhelmed and when you're stuck in that high stress. And then like when you're starting to feel, visibly tired and worn out, you're starting to feel in that yellow zone. Got some examples over here on that. And then finally in the green zone, we're relaxed and alert. Oops, got 2 dots here. Take one step back. All right, so the first thing I do with trying to see what's going on here with this chart is to see where somebody is. So this is a real example. I had a student come in, and I basically just, as a high school counselor, for instance, when a student comes into my office, they're not just coming in there to shoot the breeze usually, and if they are, then I'm not going to go to this chart. So it's really only when a student's under duress, feeling something stressful in life, feeling those kind of emotions and so on. So the first thing I ask is, what are you doing right now? And the reason why it's way over here on the chart is these columns each represent a different segment of time. I leave it undefined because I just, I really go on a case-by-case basis. This, each column could represent a day, a week, a month, or longer. All right, so the first thing I ask is, how are you doing right now? And I have that student visually place it right there on the chart. And then we go to the next plot. The reason why we keep going here is because I want context. I want to figure out, well, how did you get here? And we don't need to spend hours and hours and hours doing any kind of therapy, because as a high school counselor, I've never had hours and hours and hours. We got to be like that. And that's kind of the design of this tool, is let's get a really effective, great look at how a young person is doing. And let's do that in a way that tells me a story really quickly. So in a matter of minutes, we keep going here, and we go backwards in time, and we start to have a pattern develop here, as you can see. And so this is where we are in the present moment and how we got here. We got here from a while back. The student was busted for lying. This is like, typically a really good student. So this really was, causing a lot of stress. And then we're coming to the end of the semester, and the schoolwork's piling up too. So this student shot right up into the red from being in a healthy green stress spot, then came back down, and then is on the way back up. So my concern is that this doesn't just keep going up and up and up and get back into the red and maybe even get beyond that last high point. So you really have a great context now to see, well, at one point the student was at this high level of stress, and now it's on the way back up. It was coming down, but it didn't stay down. It's on the way back up, and the student reached out to come see me, and now I had context. We spent a few minutes working through this issue, and the beauty for me now, oops. All right, so we'll come back to that. We're gonna finish this one off. So we're gonna come back to the final step on this. All right, so take a little quick time out here and think about this chart. This is not really difficult. I'll send this out. You can feel free to reach out to me. You can Facebook message, you can email. I'll send that information. We'll have that information available at the end of the webinar here. But what is your stress level right now? Are you like in the green zone where you're doing fine and your stress level's not too bad? Or are you up in the yellow? There's lower and yellow, lower and upper part of the yellow. So I broke that yellow out because it's kind of like when you're driving down the street and you're coming up to that yellow light. It did just turn yellow and you're right underneath it, then okay, that's at that lower yellow range. But if it's been yellow a long time, then on the traffic, you're marching towards red. Same thing here. So think about what your stress level is right now. Are you green and good to go? Are you kind of in that cautious stage? Do you live in that kind of cautious yellow stage? Or are you up there in that red crisis level? All right, now think, where were you yesterday? And then where were you 2 days ago? And then where were you maybe 3 days ago? Is it just kind of steady and there's not much change throughout the week? Or is it worse on Monday and then it starts to get better? So just kind of visualize and think through where you are. Again, here's our chart back here. Are you in the green? Are you in the middle level? Or are you in the upper level? So you can see what's really cool about this is this whole inner nebulous mindfulness realm, which is really hard to try and figure out and understand, is now reduced down to 3 levels, just 3 tiers. And as we look at where you're at with that, just kind of consider where you are, what your picture looks like right now. As I said, like, you can get this into your mind's eye. I'll certainly send the chart out to all of you, but you can get this into your mind's eye and start to see where you are right now. And I did this presentation at the ASCA National Conference, and it was really cool. I had everybody create their chart without using a single word. Sometimes we joke like, oh, my teenager uses just one word, and that, it has these one-word answers or monosyllabic answers. And I had them create their charts, and I walked them through these days and back in time without using a single word. So they just had their charts out, marked them up, and it was really awesome. When they turned around and shared those charts, and I had 5 different charts, and everybody kind of looked at that one that was at the highest stress level, that was like Zoom, where everybody really focused. And so you had this picture that was worth 1,000 words. All right, so now we're going to look at the effects of stress. So we go back to our lady here. You know, your brain is at full capacity. You've got your all your wits about you, and you got your energy in the green zone. And then it just kind of, like I said, with the brain, it kind of narrows down. Your focus narrows. You start to, you know, lose your full capacity, and your energy is waning. So I'll tell you a little story about how I developed the fuel gauge. I had a teacher come in when we had our tragedies at our school. As I mentioned earlier, we had 3 suicides in a 2-week span. And we had a teacher, just like, you know, as a counselor, I was helping, and hit my wall. And I think this was like pretty early on. And the teacher had hit a wall, came into my office, and was just like done. And she's just like, I know I've got to be here. The kids are relying on me. And, you know, I had her charted out, and she was up there near that red line, like upper yellow. And then I said, well, the difference for a kid being here is they just need to take care of themselves. You're in a position where you got to have energy for the kids. So how are you going to have it? You know, where's your energy at? Let's just put this little like fuel gauge here and see where you're at with your energy. And at first she like put it at like a quarter tank, and she said, more like an eighth. We chatted like a minute or 2 more. It wasn't long. And like, she just said, you know, I'm on E. And I said, well, where would like a sports car go if you're on E? Like it's a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. And she's like, nowhere. And then it just dawned on her, like it was 10:15 in the morning. And she said, you know what? I'm going to go take care of myself. I'm going to do some self-care today. I'm going to call in a sub for the rest of the day and be back at it when I'm ready. And it was really powerful to see her use, you know, that she was up there near that red line, feeling some serious stress and feeling kind of on the verge of crisis herself. And then to put the fuel gauge together and just say, you know what? If I'm on E, the kids could really be relying on me, but I need to recharge my battery. So we try to go through life, you know, especially as a single mom, you know, you're really pushing. You've got to do it all. There's nobody there to help you. And, you know, a lot of times in life, it just feels like, how do I do this? And when I'm on empty. So that's how this chart goes together with the different levels of energy that you have, or your brain capacity. It's definitely with a teenager, it just narrows right on down to where irrational thinking just takes over. And, you know, without a frontal lobe up in the red zone, you can imagine what I've seen over the course of my 16 years of working with teenagers. I've seen everything under the sun, and who knows, I might see something new tomorrow, because I am at this point where the only thing, you know, I know is that you got to expect the unexpected. All right, barrier number 2. All right, number 2 is you're unable to address the stress. So you can understand now, if we can't see and comprehend what's going on, where like reactive mode comes from, where you're just like clashing and in conflict, you're out of gas, you don't know you're out of gas, and you're just trying to do your best. So you're unable to do the right actions. You're unable to respond. So instead of responding, you're kind of in reactive mode. So barrier number 2 is if you can't see the stress, then you're unable to do something about it. So first we're seeing, then we're taking action and doing a response instead of just a knee-jerk reaction. All right, so now we're looking at what you do in these green levels, and this is the powerful part. All right, so if we're going to see that there's only 3 levels, then awesome. We only have 3 different levels of what to do about it. So let's think about where you're at. So if you're in the green right now, then your coping skills are working. Okay, so this is DIY. Green is self-care. So there's just going to be 3 types of help. There's just going to be 3 actions out there for each type of stress. So we got this whole realm of stress reduced down to 3 levels. This whole inner world of mindfulness reduced to 3 levels. And now we've got our action, the type of help that you need to rely on to get yourself back in, you know, to relieve your stress and to get back into a spot where you can be fully functioning. 3 levels. So you got your self-care. So you're running, you know, you might take a nap. Kids are taking naps and listening to music. Those are the big ones. You know, for me, it's yoga, meditation, you know, running, getting some exercise in. So what defines now that crossover into the yellow. So if you're wondering, well, how do I really figure this out? Well, the crossover from green to yellow is your DIY is not working. You might keep doing your yoga and keep, listening to some music, but it's just not working. When that happens, that's when you've crossed over into the yellow, or a teenager too. You really have a definition for it, just like when the traffic lights guide your action. These three different colors are totally connected with the action to take. So green is DIY. And then I ask kid after kid after kid, and it's typically family or friends that they're turning to once they get past their do-it-yourself level of their coping skills. I used a numbering system at first that was totally unreliable. I just flipped the Likert scale. Like I used to say 10 is good and 1 is bad. I flipped that over so that 10 is high stress, but the numbers were totally arbitrary. One kid was a 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 for that do-it-yourself level where they slipped into the next level. And I thought, well, that wouldn't work if we were in traffic, if people are just making their own judgment call of when to go and when to stop. So that's what defines the crossover from green to yellow. Your coping skills aren't covering it by themselves, okay? So now you've got trusted people. You don't want to just turn left, right, and center to any kind of help, because a lot of times peers turn to the wrong people. Then they're out, getting high or drinking or doing something that's self-medicating, and this is not constructive at all. And so negative peer pressure really is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about trusted teammates. So for me, my motto is it takes a trusted team to empower a thriving teen. So, the friends that they put around them, this is, an age-old thing where parents really do care about the friend choices that their kids make. And then it's maybe they turn to mom first of all, or they turn to a brother or a sister or an uncle. Or maybe there's somebody trusted, somebody else trusted in your world. Finally, now the crossover into yellow into red is, as a life coach, the really cool thing for me is I got this background as a counselor. So I've got a really good gauge and ability compared to other life coaches out there who maybe don't have any counseling experience. So I can kind of tell that difference between when we've crossed over and maybe like that gauge is just going up and it's going to come back down, versus you've been up there in the red a long time. The coping skills are not working. The family and friends, you're relying on them too much, and they can start to see, wow, this is not that back and forth interplay of two good friends. It's just all one-sided. So that's the indicator that if your coping skills aren't working and your trusted teammates aren't enough, now you've crossed over into the red. So now we've got very clear definitions for these 3 levels and very clear things to do. All right, so now we come back to our little picture here. And here's where the gold comes in. This is the beauty. So we're looking at mindfulness. I've turned the invisible realm of the inner world into a visual. Okay, we have the context now. We even have the past as a visual. We're not going back and doing, 10 years of therapy or anything like this, or talking about the childhood, although this could be a 10-year chart. I've gone back as far as 15 years with this exact same visual you're looking at. So here we are, we've got this picture, and we're at the point of the student did come in, came and talked to me, and this is where the beauty kicks in. Oops. All right, I'm gonna have to get a little pen out here. This pen might leave a mark on here, but that's okay. If I need to get rid of it, I'll get rid of it. All right, so the final mark goes right in here. All right, so that was the beauty. As you can see, now I've got a before and after picture. The stress went down. So we talked, and it was effective. And I've had a couple occasions where I met with students, and then like there was a time in between where I didn't use the chart either of the first 2 times, but when a boy, 2 different boys came in in a really short time frame, that's not super common. I discovered after I used the chart that it was actually going up, even though we were meeting. So there's not a guarantee. So you really do need the before and after to be able to make a good decision, or to actually know, are we done? Are we able to move on now? All right, so what does your pattern look like? So you visualized it. Maybe you took a piece of paper out. Man, you can write 3 levels, no problem, and just write the colors right in there. So what does your pattern look like right now, leading into this webinar, leading into coming in here and joining me tonight? And what type of help is needed for you? Green, you're helping yourself. You're doing great. Yellow, hope you've got some trusted teammates, a real good support network and support system. And then if not, you could be up in the red right now. And that's where it really helps to have somebody to lean on and turn to at a time when you need that type of help. And I know it's tough out there. So That's what we're doing tonight, trying to figure out this invisible inner realm. All right, so we've got a spot here in the Q&A. I'm going to see if anybody shared anything here. If you want to put in a response, you can put it in the question section. So if you got an example, go ahead and share it out now. If anybody's feeling brave out there. Oops. So I'll talk a little bit about that example I shared before. So I had one example. So we see this up, down, and then back up again. So the story with the two boys that had to go up and then up again, like within a week span, they came in 3 times. And that was kind of my hint, like, we've got to go to the charts now. And in both cases, there was a similarity in the middle session. So I met with the kids, and then I was feeling like it was time to get the parents involved, and then the students came in that 3rd time. So as I'm kind of hinting and alluding to, the second session in each case was with a parent. And so, I could see the dynamics were a little shifted from my normal interactions with the kids, and with parent in the office, the situation might have been better for mom and dad in the situations, but for the two boys, it just got worse. So what they needed actually was some concrete actions. They needed coaching rather than counseling. The decompressing and being able to vent and be validated was maybe great for mom, and is great for adults sometimes. But even adults need coaching sometimes. So these boys both needed to know, like, what's the assignment I need, and how do I prioritize right now? So we put together a concrete plan, and then I reassessed, and both of those boys were in a better spot. So, all right, no sharing out right now, but you visualized and you're thinking about the type of help that might help you right now. All right, so another part of seeing stress is to reassess it, and that's where we have this final step. All right, so we do have this part. All right, so there we are. That's your before and after. So that last X is in the same column. That means we're in the same time frame. I can't tell you how powerful this is on a regular basis. It's so awesome to have the invisible inner realm now into a before and after picture, like so many other before and after pictures, like a diet picture, or repainting a car, or refinishing some furniture, and they got these amazing contrasts to the before and the after. And now I've got that for the invisible inner realm. And I can't tell you how powerful this is. And what's awesome about it is it's profound, but so simple. It's just like the traffic light system. And now we know exactly what to do under each scenario. There's just 3. It's not confusing. If we were going by a scale of 1 to 10 on the roads, that would be a mess, especially if people got to pick whatever number they wanted to go at and whatever number they wanted to stop at. But now we've got a before and after. A visual difference for the invisible inner realm. All right. So hopefully you're feeling a little better just to have a new way to look at what's going on inside of you. So did your stress come down already just off of seeing this? I had one student where she just saw me start to describe this, and it was so cool. I just saw her demeanor just change. Like, she got a little bit of a glow back, and I was like, what's going on? You haven't told me what's going on yet. We haven't even plotted it on the board. And she said, like, oh my gosh, you have no idea. I've got like 17 different things going on right now. And you are showing me there's like this ridiculously simple structure. I feel better already just knowing there's a structure to this mess. So you can imagine, I've seen a little bit of teen girl drama in 16 years in the high school. So she just thought it was amazing that she had an ability to now see the insides. All right, now we can be proactive. So decompressing stress is an action that helps us get through that second barrier. All right, so the nebulous self-confidence and self-esteem, where's that coming from? That comes from your DIY coping skills. And then we want to get better at proactively turning the trend around. That's where you need some expert help from a coach, building in these coping skills, learning new coping skills. As a parent, figuring out what to do under these different scenarios. This is where it really, really helps, even down to the, green level, beefing up that green level. I had, I was using that scale of 1 to 10 or 0 to 10. I had one kid say, well, I'm past the DIY at 0.5. And there's another girl like, I'm not telling anybody my business. I'm not posting anything anywhere. Mine's at a 7. So you can see in her case, she was probably like all the way up to the top of the green and then skip the yellow and right to the red. So this is a really great thing to consider if you're way up there in the red for a really long time. It's time to get maybe some professional help from a therapist. But man, the proactive coaching is powerful. Thinking about building in healthy routines, thinking about building this, solving our stress system into a cultural change. When I'm using it at school, it feels like I'm impacting the school culture. All right, so I've got a pretty powerful checklist as well. It's pretty involved here to go through the whole checklist, but that's what I encourage the school counselors to use that I've shared this with, and parents as well. Just really helpful. It seems really easy on a webinar, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, I don't remember how to do that. All right, so I got a checklist that I can give out as well. All right, we're going to just go through a couple case studies here. So we've covered barrier number 3, as we're counting down to 1, by the way. 3, 2, and 1. So the first barrier was being able to see and comprehend. And then we've got the power to actually act correctly, to do the right thing. So barrier number 2 is that without being able to see, we have that second barrier of not knowing how to act, how to respond. So now we're on to a couple case studies, and then we'll move on to that final number 1 barrier. All right, so this is one that I actually drew up. So this is a real example that's very similar to the one you saw earlier, except this one did peak out higher than kind of in that normal range, and then didn't move down much. So sometimes it stays the same, sometimes it's actually higher, and then sometimes it moves down only a little bit. And that totally clues me in, like, what do we need next? How quickly do I need to follow up with the student? Call home, talk to a parent, think about maybe getting some therapy and so on. All right, now, this one was really interesting. So I had a parent that was like, we're butting heads all the time. And I said, okay, let's plot where you're at. I had this sneaking suspicion that there was some button pushing going on here. And it totally came out to be true. So I didn't have my chart with me, drew it up right quick, like it takes no time to do green, yellow, and red. So I had the parent say, where they thought both of them were, and I put that first mark up there. And then I had the students say, well, where are you? And you're clashing over the dishes and you're fighting over for 20 minutes. And the student's like, I'm on the green. I mean, I don't mind yelling and fighting, debating, arguing. I think it's fun. And the parents' eyes and mom's eyes got wide, and she was like, are you serious? She totally thought that, everybody, both of them were engaged in this kind of heated battle that was pushing both of them up in their stress levels. And the student was just like button pushing time. So there's an example of putting 2 on the board, both the parent and the son or daughter, and just totally hanging out in the green, pushing those buttons. All right, here's the example. This is actually the real example that I had on the board where the stress was rising higher. So I didn't use it on this session, first session. I didn't use the board on the second session, but the third time around, oops, let's back this up. Sorry about that. The third time around, it was time to use that board. And when we got done, it was a little bit lower because the student had a little bit more of a focus on school. My little pie charts there are about like the mismatch in terms of school and personal focus. All right, so that's what we had going on there. And that's the example of the young man who had higher and higher stress. And that middle meeting was a meeting with mom, and then that pushed a third mark up higher. So there it is, like the visual difference. It's really awesome when you are moving on up and then you find your way down. All right, so then like the 2 boys I mentioned earlier that were complete shockers, like, very huge leaders, volunteering, doing all kinds of things in the community, and then they took their lives. Whew. All right, so on this one, I shared with like several different people. Like for me, this is what the situation was. Since I had it broken down into 3 different levels, what we had now is the mask, putting on this mask of everything's fine and smiling and happy, no matter if you're at the lowest level, the middle level, or the high level. And this is really common for guys to show no outward signs. There's maybe just 2 emojis. There's happy and laughing with their buddies, and then like anger. And that's all you get. But sometimes there's stuff going on here, and a student can be up there in that red zone a really long time. And for me, this is how like these explosions happen, where people crack in the world, is it all happens from the red zone. all violence, all negative, interactions happen from the red zone. So finally I had this one ninth grader and I asked him like, well, what would you do? And he's like, well, I would just look at the smiley faces closer. And I said, well, that's the idea. I've cut and pasted them. So what if you just had absolutely no outward signs? And he's like, I got it. It's like, whoa, like, been trying to figure this out my whole career. And definitely with the tragedies that we've had, this is a very, very important thing to me. He's like, okay, like normally we just ask each other how we're doing in the hallway and just pass by. But I would ask a second question. And I saw kind of a glimmer in his eye, like he had something. I was like, well, what's this? What's the second question you got? He's like, well, the normal question is like, how are you doing? But we got to rush off the class. And sometimes we have a little bit more time. Maybe I got a chunk of 15, 20 minutes. So I'd ask another question. I'm like, okay, you got time on your hands. You've got this question. What's the question? So he finally says, what we normally ask. So here's what to do. Let me back that up. I'm not going to give away the answer yet. You might have saw that real quick, but what to do. So he said this second question, besides how are you doing, is simply to sometimes guess, like, I don't trust that my buddy's like all good all the time. Something's got to be going on occasionally because we're teenagers and I know, things are tough. So this second question I would ask is to ask, how are you really doing right now? With emphasis on the really. So just this code word is what this ninth grade kid suggested would make that powerful difference between we're just zipping down past each other in the hallway versus, hey, you can let your mask off with me. You can let your guard down with me. I am one of your trusted teammates. I am that person in your corner that you can rely on in those really tough moments. And in those hard moments, I want to know how you're really doing once in a while. Obviously, if you overuse this, it's like anything else, it doesn't mean as much. But I thought this was so powerful because if my charting system totally breaks down because there's a mask on, this genius ninth grader figured out a way to have another option. So we got plan A, totally get used to using the chart, build this into your family culture, build this into the school culture. I want to build this into the world culture because I think this is a massive breakthrough to be able to see the invisible inner world and to be able to chart it out. So that's the story behind the 3 circles. All right, and then sometimes communication breaks down, and we've got some chronic stress, and that's what this looks like. If we go across a lot of time and people get stuck here, this is where all that conflict and harm comes from. This is the red zone rut. And why that's important is we can't, this is beyond a coach. I mean, I want to, maybe keep that team built out, but this is coach and therapist. We'll keep working on the coping skills. We'll keep on working on the daily routines to go from rut to routine, a healthy routine. But when you're up there for a long, long, long period of time, we need to build that team even more. And this is where it's kind of like having a gash in your arm. You wouldn't just say, well, I'm going to tough that out, or I'm going to let that go, or I'm just going to keep a smiley face on. So I want that same idea for mental health, where if we're in that emotional or mental high level of stress, then let's make sure that we're taking care of that with the highest level of support. You can keep doing everything below. We can keep that coaching going on. We can keep those trusted family and friends going on. We can keep those coping skills going on. But if it's just not working, we got to do something about it. All right, so that's eliminating negative. Going green is about accentuating the positive. So when you see people build these long-term, instead of red zone ruts, they build these long-term healthy green routines. They bring home the gold. So I want people winning gold medals in life. And here we got Phelps. Phelps, you could see he was riding in that green zone a long time like this. And then he's one that, like Tiger Woods or Lance Armstrong, Phelps right along with him, he shot right up into the red. But then he came back down and got back into his green routine. So he's able to win those gold medals. And Simone Biles, same thing. And with a everyday teenager, it's your good grades, great decision making. You got a community service mindset. You're thinking about your buddies. You got some compassion, and you got that sense of connectedness in life. So this is the green routine. So we have the red zone rut. We don't want that. That's where we need lots and lots and lots of support to try and pull that down. And a lot of times we just don't get enough team we don't build out that system of support enough, or that network of support enough. And it just doesn't, there's just not enough there on the coping skills side, or on a small team. That's just not enough. Or maybe the couple of trusted people just are clashing at the moment, and there's no way for that teenager to pull things down. So green routine, that's living in the zone in life. That's winning gold medal in the game of life. Let me see, I got a quick question up here. Great example of a familiar athlete. Oh, thanks. All right, so this is an example that goes beyond just some of the everyday life of teenagers, but we've got one guy that was able to pull it back together and go back to right back to winning gold medals out there in life. And sometimes life throws us for a loop, but now we've got a concept around what does it look like? What does it literally look like to get back into the green? All right, barrier number 3. So this is where we kind of count down from 3 to 2 to 1. I guess this should be barrier number 1. We already have number 3. So 3, 2, 1. So if you're stuck up there, like what did Phelps do? He went back to his coach, somebody who helped him build this locked in routine. I mean, he didn't miss, the first time around, he went to like one middle school dance. So this comes from the book Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. So he used Phelps as an example, and I immediately zoomed in on, this is green zone. Phelps hangs out in the green zone. And the reason he did it is his coach just kept him totally locked in on a green routine and let him off for like 20 minutes out of years and years and years. And that's how you get there and touch that wall like 0.01 seconds faster than everybody else. Even in one case, he had his goggles fill up completely with water, and he just swam by memory. And his coach actually took him through practices where they shut the lights off, and he had to, he had to figure out where that wall was anyway. And so that's the power of support. And great coaching is really cool for gold medals and everything, but we've got one shot here with our own sons and daughters in life. And if it's even more important than a gold medal, like how do our kids turn out there? That's the number one thing. Is we need, now SOS in this case stands for a system of support. So what kind of support systems do you have? What kind of help do you have out there, so that when we're helping our kids grow up in life and we're having them answer these questions, we want to help them be able to find their voice and find their direction in life. And if you're finally able to see what's going on and comprehend it, and then you're able to do the right things and respond in a way that's powerful, and then now you're back from being totally disconnected, stressed out, and conflict, to now you're back to that bond is being strengthened again, and you're able to support and guide your teenager again. So that's what's powerful about this, is if you find ways to build these support structures into your home, build these new ways of kind of dealing with the challenges and what's going on in the inner world, you can help your teenager find direction again. Because a lot of times they're a lot like this, and they have no idea what to pick, what to do in life. And this is my other big love. So I created SOS, and that's a powerful way to deal with the survival mode that we get stuck in, and helping people to even survive kind of on that proactive level with healthy routines and staying in that green zone. But the other powerful proactive piece, I think, for kids is that we help them find their dreams in life. So we want them to be able to go from that kind of scattered all over the place, not having a lot of direction, not having guidance and support, maybe doing all the wrong things without having their dream identified and who they are identified, to discovering what it is, launching toward it, and then landing it. And I just did this post the other day on Instagram. I noticed on Instagram, like, if you use tons of words, nobody's clicking on it, checking it out, and liking it. So I was like, how can I reduce this whole, like, the thing I'm most passionate about with kids? So totally want them to survive. That's step one. But now I want them to thrive in life. This is what really excites me a ton, is I think the most powerful way we can keep them away from that red zone is to get them fired up about who they are and where they fit in life. So you can see the little dark space here represents, the real world. So there's always the clamoring from the outer world, like, get these kids ready for the real world. And I actually think we don't need to get them ready for the real world. I think we need to get them prepared for real world 2.0, because we've got a very different real world to get kids ready for these days. It's, there's so many people driven to distraction, and people are having such a hard time finding out who they are in life, and always have. And it's not about fitting square pegs into round holes, or even square pegs into square holes. I don't think there are any square pegs, and I don't think there are any round pegs out there. I think it's a lot more like this, where we've got kids who are like one of 7 billion plus puzzle pieces out there. And I think there's a perfect fit on the receiving end as well. And it's the real world that's got to change. We got to not just shift our priorities a little. I think we got to invert our priorities completely and really make this world kind of welcoming and magnetically attractive, so that the teenager wants to fit to their slot in this world and doesn't just feel like jaded and frustrated and like there's no hope out there. We really do need to help them figure out who they are and get after like what it is they want to do in this world. All right, so that's what really jazzes me, is helping kids figure out who they are, helping parents get a good concept around helping kids figure out who they are. And I've got a whole other system for that too. It's called PAID, PAID. So we help kids get paid out there in the real world, and it's an acronym. But this is what it's about. If you can imagine all these little puzzle pieces fitting into their slot in life, to me, we go from dis-ease. There's so much dis-ease that's contagious out there. For me, the thing I really want to go viral is not some post or whatever. I want contagious ease to go viral, where you're in your slot. And if you're in your slot and everybody around you on a Monday morning is like, man, this guy's enthusiastic, or this girl is so enthusiastic on a Monday morning, what's going on here? Then we got contagious ease happening. Then we've got people like, I have a goal of getting 100 people fit right into that slot from today forward. That would be so awesome to just have this contagious ease kicking in, because, one puzzle piece after another. I'm the talent scout helping you figure out as a teenager who you are. And every kid, even the ones with all F's in my life, I've seen, man, they've got something. They've just got to figure out a way to build that self-confidence and self-esteem and go after what they're really designed and born to do. And then they're out there going to be spreading that contagious ease in life, because they're rocking that green zone, and they're doing what they love in life. So here's what I say. We got a 2-for-1. When you're living your dream, that also happens to be your best way of contributing in the world. So that goes right in line with that puzzle piece fitting in that exact right slot. So what blocks your path? I got a little poll here. So you can go ahead, I'll launch the poll, and tell me what is your biggest barrier at this point. And there could be other, but let's choose one of these three. You got confused by your teenager, you're tending to react without pausing, and then not enough support in life. So tell me which one of those three fits best for you. And if it's other, you can go ahead and post it in the question section. So if you've got a different option of what blocks your path, go ahead and share it. If not, go ahead and fill out that poll. Reacting without pausing, got to vote for that one. And that's the winner right there. So this reacting without pausing. So you can see, if we're unable to see what's going on and we're confused and puzzled, from puzzle piece to puzzle. So if you're a puzzled parent, it's really easy to kind of just do that first reaction that comes to mind. So take that deep breath. And in those moments, it's a challenge. I totally get it. I've seen, like I said, just about everything under the sun. And in those moments, just like take a second to think about, where am I? And am I at the red and my center daughter is way down there in the green? Can you start to imagine, or even start to teach this process of, where are we at right now? Let's call a timeout. Let's assess the situation. So before we jump into like saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing, just call a timeout, at least on yourself. Take that deep breath, and then the mindfulness piece kicks in. Like, is it green, yellow, red? Probably red, probably up there near the red. If you need to take that time out and you're flipping right into action, jumping right into, that first thing that comes to mind. Um, that's that's what I've got for a suggestion today. Is it's powerful to just take that pause, take a deep breath, and then think about where are we at? Where am I at for starters? Okay, I'm up there in the red. I might just need to pull back in the moment. And sometimes I know it's tough. It's so tough when you're like the be all and end all, like you do everything there is, as the only parent. But it still helps to take that deep breath. It still helps to get an assessment of where you're at. And then if your teenager's not going to give you a straight answer, then you can kind of imagine like that's at least upper yellow. All right, so that's we all have our own stress mess in life. We all get stressed out, and it can be such a tough thing. So the SOS plan is the system of support plan. So are you going to find ways to build new systems of support into your life? We talked about a really powerful one. This is the most powerful thing. I thought when I'd put tools out there for people, I put some of the easier ones. I use my whiteboard all the time. I've become the visual coach and the visual therapist. It's like when kids and parents call time out in life, I go straight to the whiteboard and we start drawing. So these visual processes are very powerful for helping kids figure out who they are, for helping helping ourselves out, figuring out where we're at with mindfulness and with our mental emotional measures, like where is our measure at? Is it green, yellow, or red? And the overall plan here is something I offer too. So if this stuff that we've talked about today looks really awesome, but a little bit intimidating or complex, that's where, it really does help to have some coaching in life. And the next thing I offer is also just like this webinar. It's a free opportunity to just talk more. I love talking about this stuff. I love, we can talk about paid as well and what that is, and how you figure out like the insides of yourself or a teenager out there in the world to figure out how they're going to find that puzzle piece fit in the world. And then also just like, what are those blockages? What are those tough things that you're facing? Is it, the reactive mode and getting stuck in survival mode? A lot of single parents are stuck out there in survival mode, and they just don't have a trusted network of support, or the support comes and goes. And having that third party objective person with 16 years of experience to rely on is pretty powerful. So I've looked at so many different things of like, oh, what's this, how do you place a value on this kind of experience? And I've looked at other directions in life that I could have gone. And to me, it's really priceless to have the kind of experience I've got with teenagers and to be able to share that. I mean, for me, that's my way of spreading contagious ease. Is I found my number one puzzle slot in life as a person. And it's awesome. It's so awesome to know like I've found it. And then in turn, to be able to spread the contagious ease by sharing the things I've learned over these 16 years, from SOS to paid to so many other things, is really my joy. So you can definitely feel free to email me at donovan@getreadycoaching.com. You can definitely Facebook message me as well. I encourage you to reach out and friend me, or I've got a Facebook fan page as well for Get Ready Coaching. And you can email me, phone call at 970-541-2560. And then I've actually got a calendar too that you can get on at meetme.so/Donovan. That's through schedule once. That's what the SO stands for. And then the teen team. If you text teen team to 33444, I don't think I updated the recent messaging, so there might be a little bit of a weird message with that, but it has a quick explanation of SOS. So if you text that number, it's going to ask for your email, and then you'd be emailed the SOS form. And definitely reach out if you want those other parts too, like the checklist and a chart. I can send those along as well. And then it's about having a healthy, happy home. And that's really what I think is key. Out of my 16 years, that's what I would say is the number one key factor is the nuclear family, what those kids see every day. And it's not so much the lecture, it's more what you're doing. We all live our lessons in life. So people are role models. They're either role modeling what they want their kids to see, or their kids are inheriting what they don't want them to inherit. And I think we've done that for generations and generations and generations, because parenting is not one of those things that's treated like math or science or English. It's not really treated as a discipline. And for me, the cool thing is it's not rocket science. And there are some pretty, there's innovative ways to handle what's going on with teenagers out there, because I think the game keeps getting raised from the younger years to the teenage years, and a lot of times it feels like they're grown. I can't do anything about it. But they're watching everything we do. They're watching what happens in the political scene. They're watching what happens in the world, and they're really role model. The role models are everybody out there. Everybody that's their age or older is one of their mentors, one of their role models, and then coaches and counselors in life are also important people, and then positive peers. Surrounding our kids with positive peers is really important. So, like I said, you can message me on Facebook. You can follow my Facebook fan page at Get Ready Coaching, and then hook up on LinkedIn or Twitter. And I didn't put the Instagram on there, but that's probably the thing I've gotten most active with lately. So there's a Donovan.Dreyer Instagram. And then definitely looking to put some more videos out there. I did a really fun one with school last year. I interviewed one of our seniors who was on graduation day, had a struggle getting to the finish line. And it was so powerful to interview her and say, hey, why don't you send a message to the class of 2020 so that, you give them a little bit of 2020 vision. And she just did a powerful job of sending a message to our kids that at 46, and even though I got 3 kids of my own, even though I got 16 years of experience, it's nowhere near as powerful as hearing it from a senior who got to the finish line. So that's another social option. So the easiest ways to connect, go ahead and email or call. You can schedule a time on meetme.so/Donovan. It'd be really awesome to talk to you more. I mean, I really love when I get one-on-one with that ability to connect, even if it's just an exploratory session and a discovery session, to figure out and help you get a game plan going, get that first step in place for you personally. So definitely reach out. I'd love to hear from you and give you an opportunity to chat more together and get a little bit more into your own unique situation, because that's just really my joy in life, is helping out where that help is most needed. And that's why I kind of designed this especially for single moms. My own mom raised me when I was in Detroit in the younger years, and then we moved in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and that was a lot better for sure. But mom helped me get through Detroit. That was pretty incredible. And then I later on lived with my dad, and I really kind of felt like I discovered something pretty powerful too. When I was a male and needed that male role model, it was really awesome to have a dad that was able to say, sure, why don't you come live with me now? And I think that was just kind of a gut level feeling. Like I just knew I needed that male perspective. I had a sister, a mom, and always around, like the female perspective and being raised by my own single mom. And it was just really powerful to have that other perspective in life. And that was the reason for the focus, is that was my own life situation. I also see, man, if there's one key need and one key place to be a supporter and a coach in life, that would really grab me as being able to support others. And my favorite client, I have to admit, is single mom. So there you go. That covers the show for today. Definitely fire away if you've got any questions. We can take a little quick Q&A if anybody's got any questions. But I hope that was super helpful to you. And I would love to get a hold of you, or have you get a hold of me, and set up a time for us to meet. So thank you very much for tuning in. And I hope you have a great night. All right. Have a great night and take care.